Hello and good morning from the wet and very windy Wiltshire in the UK. The projection of the astral body by Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward, Carrington. We finished after this short extract in the middle here. However, we're continuing on page 105. Once again, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for liking or commenting on my content. I do appreciate you greatly. Thank you very much. So we are continuing with the eccentricities of the senses, and I'm going to just revert back to this short paragraph here so it all flows quite nicely. Eccentricities of the senses. The senses within chord activity range function so erratically that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to give an entirely satisfactory account of what might and might not happen in the sense field. The best that can be done, at least the best that I can do, is to let of these curious sense functionings as I have experienced them. First, let us take the sense of sight. When we are in coincidence and conscious, we see only those objects which agree in vibration or are within the range of vibration, to which our eyes are attuned, unless we are clairvoyant. When we move out of coincidence and are conscious, the sense of sight does not always restore itself immediately, but when it does, the range of vibration has increased, and we are then able to see not only the material things which we formerly saw, but astral things as well. We call this seeing astrally or astral vision. During close range separation with consciousness, there are several ways in which this seeing may occur. The astral cable is as adaptable to the conduction of sense currents as is the body, and the senses can shift back and forth from one body to another, or be in both bodies and the cable at the same time, within chord activity range. Oftentimes the phantom can be detached within chord activity range, and consciousness will be on duty. The subject will see the phantom from the physical eyes, although they are closed, moving, standing, lying in the air, etc., in the room. I believe I mentioned before that the sleeper will sometimes become conscious and see himself in the astral from his physical eyes, lying about 1 foot above and horizontal to his physical body. This body, which is resting in the air, appears gauzy and seems to be trembling. He may awaken almost immediately after seeing this, with a repercussion, and he will insist that he saw all of this by means of his physical eyes, for he will say, "I saw this from the physical, I saw the astral lying above me. Therefore I was conscious in the physical." True as it may seem to him, he was not conscious in the physical at all. He was conscious in the astral, the sight current moving through the cable to the physical eyes. The physical did not see the astral. It was not the physical eyes which saw the phantom lying above the physical body, for the normal physical eyes could not see the phantom, and furthermore, the physical eyes were closed. The seat of consciousness is in the astral body, and the current of vision, instead of centering at the astral body's eyes, was cutting one of its peculiar capers and making a circuit across the cable to the physical eyes. By way of illustration, let us take our normal sight while physically conscious. We look out from our eyes, we say, because the current runs from the eye to the conscious mind. Now suppose your eyes and the wires running from them were lifted out of their sockets. Place 1 foot in front of you and turn toward you. Then you would see yourself instead of looking out from yourself. And that is how the astral vision current occasionally functions across the cable, and the phantom sees itself, and this is but one eccentricity of astral vision. There is another, still more complicated, more mystifying phenomenon than astral vision, however, that is dual astral vision, which occurs when the projector apparently sees from the physical eyes, and at the same time sees from the eyes of the astral body, where he really is. When this occurs, and it does very rarely, the subject can watch the astral just as if he were in the physical, observing it as it moves about in the room, and at the same time he is able to see the physical counterpart lying with closed eyes upon the bed as he moves about in the astral body. What would you think if you were actually to experience such an unbelievable happening? What would you think if you could see from two places separated from each other at the same time? Why, it would only be natural for you to believe that you were conscious at these two different places simultaneously. But we have already learned that the conscious mind is not a part of the physical body, but operates in the astral body. This dual astral vision is not necessarily dual consciousness. It is a double-track sense of sight, one of these tracks running across the line of force to the physical body and the other to the astral body. The first time I ever experienced this, I thought I was in dual consciousness, but I soon discovered that it was merely dual vision. It occurs only within chord activity range, so far as I know, as does the single sense of sight from the physical eye. If dual astral vision be operative and the phantom moves beyond what chord activity range, plink out of the vision from the physical eyes. Now, there are authorities who are of the opinion that it is possible to produce dual consciousness, or consciousness in the physical and the astral simultaneously. For my own part, I cannot say that this is possible. I have seen too many mystifying things to deny that such dual consciousness can be produced. However, I do not believe that I have ever experienced it, now that I understand the dual action of the senses, which I formerly thought was double consciousness. In this book, Higher Physical Development by Hereward Carrington says, the astral body is, of course, very closely connected with the dream body, with which it is more or less identical. Dr. Van Eden of Holland conducted some extremely interesting experiments upon himself. In his dream body, he endeavoured to transfer his consciousness to this body, so that he remembered everything that transpired during sleep, and to control that body so that through it he would be enabled to manipulate physical objects in the material world. He did not succeed fully in doing so, but came very near to it, and succeeded to the extent that he induced a complete dual consciousness. He remembered clearly that he was asleep in bed, with his arms folded across his breast, and at the same time he remembered clearly that he took... He remembered clearly that he was looking out through the window and saw a dog run up and look at him through the glass and run away again, and details of that character. He then remembered gilding towards the couch on which his physical body was lying down beside it, and a moment later woke up and was again, of course, in the physical body, but he had the extreme sense of duality of consciousness of the two bodies. Here you will see Dr. Van Eden maintains that he was conscious in the two bodies at the same time. I have met with experiences similar to this one recorded by Dr. Van Eden many times, and at first, too, that I believed my consciousness was in both bodies simultaneously. But after further investigating the mystery, I concluded that it was, as I stated before, a double functioning of vision. I have made the remark, and I again make it, that I have seen too many wonders to deny that dual consciousness is possible. So although I do not contradict Dr. Van Eden's claim in the least, I wish to point out the striking similarity between what the doctor believes to be dual consciousness and what I believe to be dual vision. You will notice, no doubt, that the account which Dr. Van Eden gives could be easily explained as the result of dual vision, with a single consciousness, and the astral line of force carrying the sense of sight to the position occupied by the physical eyes. There is to me something about dual consciousness which seems undesirable, even if it were a possibility. If consciousness can, in fact, multiply itself, if it can be in the physical body in the absence of the spiritual body, then the claims that have been advanced, that the consciousness operates through the non-material counterpart alone, are fallacious. Now, if during projection the physical body had a conscious of its own, then of what use is the inner man? Can both bodies be conscious at the same time while separated? If the cable breaks while the physical still exists consciously, I think not. It is my own idea, and I have good reason for believing it to be true. that what is supposed to be dual consciousness is in reality an accessory track of astral vision located in the astral line of force and working concurrently with the phantom's eyes. Dropping this matter of dual consciousness for the present, we will go back to our discussion of dual vision, for it is certain that the latter exists within chord activity range on many occasions. We might even say that, during a conscious projection within chord activity range, the sense of sight can function in three ways: from the eyes of the phantom, as it should, from the spot occupied by the physical eyes, and from both simultaneously. And there's a little marker here. There are times when the projected phantom can see the different parts of its body without using the eyes. Of this, more later. As a rule, one finds that the sense of sight acts from the phantom's eyes alone, but there are the above-mentioned exceptions, and in this work I have not followed the usual procedures, but have gone deeply into the unusual features as well. However, I would advise the reader not to concentrate too long on those things which I have spoken of as the unusual features of projection, lest these crystallize in his mind, and by doing so influence his development, for in the astral, as one thinks he is. Okay. Page 108, we're duplicate sense of touch. In studying the above account of Dr. Van Eden, let us considering an interesting feature contained therein. While standing by the window in the dream body or astral body and looking out, the doctor saw a dog run up and look at him through the glass and run away again. Evidently, this dog could see astrally, and he was apparently able to see the astral body of Dr. Van Eden, and there is no reason to believe that animals cannot do so as well as human beings. The dog especially seems equipped with subtle senses. I had often heard that dogs are sensitives. Had a pet dog. In fact, I have him yet, although he is 13 years old. Jack is his name, a mongrel, but always a true friend to me. I wanted to find out if Jack could see me while I was exteriorized in the astral body, so I gave him sleeping quarters in my own room. I knew I could trust Jack not to meddle or to make any noise, and that he would growl if anyone came near the room at night. There was only one trouble with Jack. He slept too soundly in these quarters, and whenever I did succeed in getting out, he was asleep, and my presence did not arouse him. Then a night came when, by accident I suppose, I consciously exteriorized, and Jack was not asleep. He was standing on the floor, looking appealingly at my body on the bed, as if I was waiting for an invitation to jump up and sleep beside it. From the other side of the room I tried to get Jack's attention. I moved to a spot where his eyes would be in line with mine, and went through the motions of beckoning and calling him. Still his eyes watched the physical, although once he held his head up and sniffed the air in the direction of the phantom. But this was only for an instant, and he seemed more taken up with watching the shell than in seeing me. I do not believe that he even sensed that I was not in the shell. Finally, something happened which did prove interesting. Jack leaped onto the bed and pushed in closely against the side of the oblivious body and curled up there. As he did so, a strange thing happened. The physical body was rocked upward and downward slightly from the action of the springs as the dog's weight landed upon the bed, and the astral, in exactly the same time, rocked upward and downward in the air, in perfect harmony with the movement of the physical, although the astral body was in the vertical and the physical was in the horizontal position. But the most amazing part was that as the dog curled up against the physical, it felt to me as if he were actually curling up against my side in the astral, and I could feel his weight against me in the side of my astral body until physically active again. How did this transference of feeling or sense of touch occur? In the same way that one feels anything material, in the same way that it feels when physically active, by sensing it through the currents of feeling. They happen to be in physical, cable, and the astral body when projected. In other words, sorry, my cat was pulling at my curtain. Excuse me, sorry. They happen to be in the physical, They happen to be in physical cable and astral body when projected. In other words, if you feel anything material while in the astral body, you must be within cord activity range, and what you will feel will have to touch the material counterpart. Then it is transmitted over the line of force into the astral body, and that is where you really feel it. But this is only an idiosyncrasy of the sense of touch, just as the sense of sight acts in an erratic manner and occurs, so far as we know, only within the range of cord activity. We have seen, too, that even movement in the physical can duplicate itself in the astral, as it did when the physical rocked up and down from the jar of the dog's weight and jumped up on the bed. I have long known that at times, when within cord activity range, a touch of on the material body may be felt in the same spot on the astral member, but it was news to me that the reverse of this is possible, and that a touch on the astral member can be felt in the physical member, yet some eminent authority seem to have established this as true. Thus, in some experiments. In some experiments which I have conducted, I have succeeded in partly disassociating the two organisms by means of hypnagogic suggestion, while the subject was in deep trance, and the independent existence of the astral or etheric body has been proved by phenomena of sensibility and motivity. Thus, after the inner body has been to some extent loosened, I have pricked this body with a needle, and, through the prick was some inches distance from the surface of the real material body, the subject nevertheless felt the prick as if it were on their real body. I pricked the surface of the etheric body, that is, distant some 6 or 8 inches from the material body, but by a phenomenon known to physical students as repercussion of sensibility, it is rebounded or reacted upon the material body in such a way that the subject felt the pricks actually in the body itself. The experiments of others along this line strengthen and corroborate these tests, and Mr. Carrington, in his book Higher Physical Development, goes on to say, the French experimenters have conducted many useful experiments on what they call exteriorization of sensibility and motivity, that is, the sensory power and the motive power. If I place my hand over a matchbox in order to move it, I have to touch it. If, however, I am a medium, and I place my hand at a distance of half an inch from the matchbox, and then will that box shall be moved. It really is moved, the theory being that, in this case, I can project from my fingers an energy which bridges the gap between the fingers and the box, and so moves it. That is projection of motive force. On the other hand, if I prick my finger, I feel it only if my finger be touched. But when the sensibility is projected beyond the body, as it is, seemingly in some cases of deep hypnosis and trance, then you can prick a space half an inch from the finger and you will feel it. And that has gone so far in the experiments of Colonel de Roches and others that they claim to have taken out the astral body altogether from the physical and set it to one side, as it were, and by pricking this body, every prick in the astral body repercussed, as we say, or was felt in the original physical body, wherever the prick was made in the astral body. This, of course, bears a striking resemblance to the old witchcraft phenomena, in which the witch was supposed to turn into a dog or a cat, and if the dog or cat was shot or had an eye put out, the next day the witch was found with an eye out. Repercussion. It is a striking similarity, curious and interesting. We've just got a short extract here. A great deal of curious material regarding repercussion may be found in Adolphe Diassier's book Posthumous Humanity, in which an attempt is made to connect such cases with certain phenomena of witchcraft. See also my discussion of the same theme in the Problems of the Physical Research, chapter Witchcraft, Its Facts and Follies. That's from Hereward, Carrington. We have spoken of this before in connection with materialization, you will recall, although I have long known that at times, when the projected phantom is within cord activity range, any touch on the physical member is felt on the same spot of the astral member. The reverse was news to me. And without casting any doubt upon the upon the genuineness of these experiments, I must confess that I cannot understand how a needle can prick the astral body and be felt when that body is intangible and impervious to material things. Remember that the experimenters who discovered this repercussion of sensibility are scientific men and are trustworthy. The fact that I cannot understand how the needle can actually come into contact with the astral body, which is non-material, does not in the least disprove these claims. In trying to solve this problem, several purely theoretic explanations presented themselves to my mind. I noticed in reading these accounts that the subject was under hypnosis, and I wondered if this repercussion of sensibility was not in the same manner brought about because of this condition. I also wondered if a similar occurrence might not be brought about when projection occurred without suggestion or hypnotism. And we are going to finish there on page 111. That, for me, that's an angel number, so that's a good sign. Phantom can pass through needle points without feeling. That's the next chapter we're going to progress to. Once again, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to my extracts from the book. I truly enjoy reading it. It's nice to share it with some people. That's The Projection of the Astral Body by Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward Carrington. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Thank you.